Gillon McLachlan is the Chief Executive of the AFL. Let's do the unexpected and actually talk about football here and not drugs or politics. Here is what Mick Malthouse said.
If I wasn't coaching, I'd hate the game.
Well, why are you coaching it and coaching it
to win?
Is he right?
Well, I don't think so. I think I was in Sydney last week. I saw GWS Carlton, and I actually loved that game. And I was coming back with on the plane, and Mick happened to be on my flight, and I know he didn't like watching that game. So maybe that's what he's referring to, the GWS Carlton game last week.
Is there a problem with the game? And we talk about it getting ugly, and Paul Roos is under scrutiny every now and again, or we're taking the contest out of it. There's not enough use of body. Are there issues there that need to be addressed for the next season?
I think there's a couple of a couple of games every week that are not as attractive as the rest, and I think that there are parts of our game that people don't like at the moment, but I think there always is, Neil. I just think the scrutiny is unbelievable. There is a natural evolution, and our game looks different than it did 10 years ago and looks different than it did 10 years before that. But the best games of our game, and I reckon there's been 5 or 6 the last couple of weekends, are just absolute belters. And it is different from 20 years ago, but that's sport, that's life. So we're always working to make it more attractive, and there are parts of it that people don't like and that I don't like. But generally, I think the standard of our game has never been higher, and the best games have never been better.
The Essendon issue goes to the court. I know you don't know what's going to happen there, but what is it about? Explain to us why it's in court.
It's essentially Essendon are contesting the legality of ASADA's investigation under the Act. Essentially, the way it was set up, and the fact that I think they're contesting that it was a joint investigation, and the Act doesn't provision for that, and therefore the evidence gathered was therefore inadmissible under the Act. So that's what they're contesting. And
it's beyond dispute that it was a joint investigation, is it?
Well, I've always understood it to be a joint investigation, so that was put to me this morning. But I guess ASADA are framing it in the way they interpreted the investigation, and someone other than me will decide exactly what it was.
Are the implications here, though, if Essendon wins, that's the end of it? It's all over, because it's been inappropriately, the evidence has been inappropriately garnered.
I don't know what happens after that, but that'll be a question for ASADA if Essendon win. It will mean, as I understand it, that a lot of the evidence is inadmissible. I heard Ben McDevitt say on radio the other day that he'd accept the umpire's verdict, so that potentially is a reality. We'll see.
Is it Is it true that the window whereby players can take a 6-month suspension rather than a 12-month suspension is closing, and there's not much longer left for that you're aware of?
No, I don't know anything about that. I mean, I said the other day publicly, I think everyone understands that there are different streams to this going on. That I think, I'm not sure that's true. No.
What about the other thing that's raised in the papers today is a suggestion that there's still no arrangement made or in place for the monitoring of the health of the players involved in that. Is that correct?
I think it's still being worked through. I mean, we've said from the very start, one of the 2 priorities here is the health and welfare of the players. I think everyone accepts that in an environment where players are still not sure what they got, that their health long-term is critical. So Peter Harcourt, I know, has been dealing with the club on finalising the monitoring process. I don't think it is finalised, but that's something that needs to be completed as a priority.